Good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for being on time. We're going to give this about 60 seconds before we get going as folks trickle in here. Thank you all for being here. And happy Thursday. We're going to give it another 20 or 30 seconds here before we get started. All right. Thank you all for joining our August webinar. My name is Jake, and I will be hosting you today. As we get started here, I'd like to go over the agenda. I'm sure you're all here to learn about ADUs, and if you have knowledge, you're here to learn more. And so we're going to cover some of the basics here, as well as going through California's rules and regulations. Also want to cover who's building them and why, and maybe you are one of those people that fit the description. We will be covering our company and what we do and what we provide. And of course, how you can get started with us, including the next steps. And we also have a special treat with our webinar deal for being here today. We will have time to answer some questions at the end. There is a question Q&A box that you'll have the option of clicking on and asking questions as we go along. I do have the lovely Jessica in the background. She'll be answering questions as we go along, but she will save any questions that are more general that I think everybody wants to hear the answer to. She'll be saving those for me to answer live. So feel free to drop the questions in as we go along here. As I mentioned, my name is Jake Palaio. I'm a home consultant down here in Southern California. I've been with Villa since 2020, where I began as a home consultant for about 1.5 years. End of 2021, I was on paternity leave and came back in 2022 as a construction manager down here in Southern California, and was responsible for installing about 20 units. And then luckily was able to jump back over to the home consultant side, which is what I do love the most. And so if you get started with our company in the feasibility study, I would be one of the home consultants that could be taking you through your project. So with the basics, what is an ADU, or an accessory dwelling unit? It is an accessory to the primary home, which means that we build these because there is already a primary structure on a property. It must come equipped with a dedicated entrance, point of egress, cooking space, sanitation, sleeping space. With the maximum size, the ADUs can go up to some jurisdictions, it's only 1,000. Others do allow up to 1,200 square feet. We can also discuss what a junior ADU is, which is only a maximum size of 500 square feet in most jurisdictions. They are typically connected to the main dwelling. Perhaps you have a space that can be converted, adding a kitchen and bathroom or kitchenette. You can also convert a garage into a junior ADU if the size is permitted. Typically, ADUs and junior ADUs, for that matter, will require a separate address in most jurisdictions. And then, of course, like I mentioned, they can be converted from a garage or a separate structure. And as far as California's rules and regulations, they have definitely changed over the course of the last few years. Starting in 2020, they went into effect, definitely making them more consistent throughout the state, rather than various rules from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. We are allowed to build here in California as homeowners. We're allowed to build an ADU and a junior ADU in the lot. As you'll see down there, it says that an owner occupancy law does come into effect when you're building a junior ADU as well. You would have to be the occupier of one of the structures on site. Jurisdictions now have 60 days to approve permits rather than 6 months or whatever they ended up taking prior to these rules coming to effect. And as far as the parking requirements go, we don't need to build a separate garage or driveway for the ADU as long as it's within half a mile of a public transit. And some of the setbacks, we used to not, ADUs were not feasible with some of the setback laws of like 20 feet or so from a property line. But now we can go as little as 4 feet to a side or rear setback, which makes it, pretty much feasible in most backyards here in California. And front yard ADUs are now possible as well, depending on the size of the unit that you're looking at and the setback of the local jurisdiction. We have a separate division for multifamily properties. I won't spend too much time here, but if you are a owner of a multifamily parcel, ADUs are a fabulous way to generate income. And I would highly recommend at least contacting us to discuss this with a sales development rep, which would be free of charge to have a conversation around what is possible for your property. But most people with multifamily parcels, they're looking to add maybe a couple of units onto the property, and savvy investors will see that the cap rates on these investments are incredible compared to other investments that you might make. So again, I will encourage you, if you're a multifamily owner, to a multifamily parcel owner, I should say, to contact us to have a good little conversation with one of our sales development reps about that. So why are people building ADUs? Obviously, with the laws that changed as of the last few years, it is making it a lot easier. And I will say that jurisdictions have only become more and more friendly to ADUs and even adopting some other laws that are making it easier. People need more from their living spaces. You might have a backyard that really is not doing anything, or a side yard. And this can be an opportunity to build a separate living space for, someone that is in your house that you don't feel like they need to be living in your house anymore. You can have your parent age in place. You can build office space. There are so many versatile reasons why people are building ADUs. And one thing that isn't discussed enough is really what an accessory dwelling unit does to the property value. You are adding square footage of living space with ultimately separate utilities and an address, and it's almost like a second home that you can put on your property without the cost of actually buying a second home. As far as who, as I mentioned, a few of them, people are building them because, maybe they're just trying to have their family together, but separate, right? We have retirees aging in place where they may not need their large home anymore. They have a 2,500 square foot house and an empty nest, and they can build something that's, significantly smaller that's good for them. And maybe they like to travel. I have a lot of clients that like to do that and rent out their main home and really generate good income as they retire. First-time homeowners here in California, it is tough to purchase a home in California for a lot of our younger generation. And so this is a great way for them to have their own independent space, but without the costs associated with buying a new home. And as I mentioned with the multifamily, but this goes for single family folks that want to build on their single family parcel. The cap rates on these are remarkable, and the return that you can get on this investment really does make a lot of sense in most situations. I want to talk about Villa and our experience here in the state of California. This number is actually more like 225 or so homes that we've put on foundations to this point, with a company that started in 2020 and really gained a lot of traction in 2021 and 2022. We're starting to see year-over-year increases in the jobs that we are getting approved with the cities, as well as the homes that we are installing. If you are joining us in Southern California, we did just open up our market in San Diego. We found a lot of friendly jurisdictions in San Diego County. And so we are starting in that market now with already a few installs done. In with a bulk of our units being installed in Northern California, that is where our headquarters is, and that's where our company began back in 2020. We are a complete turnkey solution for our customers. You are not getting multiple architects or engineers, contractors involved. We are all of it from A to Z. We will take you through the design process and finalizing what this plan should look like, as well as getting the permits approved. And of course, building the unit, which is going to be a prefabricated unit off-site. However, also handling all the on-site work as well, which means the foundation and the utilities. Obviously, once the unit is delivered, we have to complete the rest of the unit on site. So we really do, hold your hand through the whole entire process. And if things go wrong, there's no pointing fingers, right? We are the company that's responsible for the whole entire project. We do pride ourselves on the transparency of our pricing, and we try to keep those costs down the best we can. Obviously, there are items that are out of our control, like the price of concrete or the price of lumber, but being able to build a unit in a factory, it really does keep that cost down, because if you think about it, we're not building one home at a time and ordering, 15% waste because of that. That's what you have to do when you build a house on site. When we build it in a factory, we are building more like 50 homes at a time. And so you're automatically getting a lower price on materials because of the bulk order. Beyond that, our homes are going to be built, relatively similar. There's not really any waste that's used on these units, because whatever countertop or lumber or cabinets are not used on one home, they can be used on the next. As far as the timeline goes, it will depend on the jurisdiction, but usually within a year, we can have a unit completed from start to finish. Majority of that time, though, however, is going to be spent in permitting. So it really just depends on the jurisdiction, how quickly we can get this approved in order to start building your unit. We do try to keep this a stress-free process. This is construction, however, and things do come up and things can go wrong. But just knowing that you have a company here that really does care and wants to get this project done for you in a timely manner, at a good price point, really with people that are dedicated to your project throughout your process, it does give you a little bit of peace of mind knowing that, we're in it for the long haul. We're not the company that's going to just up and leave halfway through because we're too frustrated or we're over budget or something like that. With our units being built at what's called Housing Urban Development or HUD code compliant, this is a code that's at a federal level that supersedes a lot of your local municipalities' rules. So in the case of like Title 24 or requiring fire sprinklers or requiring solar panels on the roof, these are a lot of the things that we can avoid because of this being built to HUD code. They're all manufactured here in California. However, I guess we should add this. We have a manufacturer now in the state of Arizona in a completely different line of products. So does work for a lot of people's situations, and they are built very, very well. But it is a new factory to build as of this year. The roofs do come solar ready. So although I mentioned we do not have to include solar on our units when we install them, if it is something that you desire, we can add that to our scope of work as well. As for the interior, we've put a lot of thought into how these are going to look when they're completed. You will be assigned a home consultant as you go through your initial feasibility study with us, who will make recommendations on what your use is, right? Is this for a rental? Maybe we don't need to go with all the super nice upgrades. If it's for mom and she likes everything really nice, like, hey, we can dive into some of the upgrade options for you. But you can see some pictures of some finished homes and the way that they look once it's all said and done. But the kitchens are fully equipped with appliances and everything included. You can see in the photo there, a nice farmhouse sink, shaker style cabinets. They will have central heating and the option to add air conditioning. And of course, washer and dryer hookups would be included as well. And as for the amount of floor plans, we have over 20 configurable floor plans. These are just a few of the options for 1 bedroom, 1 bathrooms. We have 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom options up to 1,000 square feet. And of course, 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom options as well, up to 1,200 square feet. With each one of these floor plans, we have customizations that can be done. Right, whether you want to add a kitchen island or rearrange the layout of the kitchen. In some cases, we have an option to add a laundry room or add a covered porch. And so these are all things that you will get access to in the feasibility study to really start to create a home that's right for you or your situation. As I mentioned earlier, about a year or so is where we are with our timeline. We want to move as fast as you want to move. Sometimes, some things might take a little bit longer, but a lot of it does come down to the customer and how quickly decisions are made there. We're not here to rush you. This is a project that's going to get done one time, right? And so we want to make sure it's right. We want you to feel confident in every decision that you're making along the way. But you will be assigned pre-construction project managers to your project, as well as construction managers and project managers as you move through the construction process. So you can kind of see where it's broken down into different phases. My job is to take folks through that first month to see what is possible, give you as many options as we need to in order for you to make an informed decision on this and provide every answer that we possibly can and really figure out what it's going to take to get this job done. In that first phase, or what we call phase 1, this is our permitting phase. This is, again, probably the grayest area when it comes to the timeline, because different jurisdictions, they can take a little bit longer. They can fight back a little bit harder, but that's why you hire a company like ours to fight on your behalf and make sure that we can get this through to that second phase where we're actually building your unit and completing the on-site work. One of the biggest, I would say, benefits to building a prefabricated home is that this is a unit that is built so precisely and so well that we can really expedite that building process. Not only that, but you're not hearing all of the noise going on of building a house. That is done off-site. With the on-site work, we can overlap that manufacturing timeline with the on-site preparations for the foundation and the utilities. And so it really does expedite our process of building. Less inspections as well. All of our units being built to HUD code, we have HUD code inspectors that go in the factory and approve these units as they're going through their build out process. So that'll be expedited as well. If you need a unit faster, didn't mean to skip over that one. If you need a unit faster, there are certain circumstances that come up where we do have a unit that's already made and what we call our ready built units. This expedites the design process. This expedites a little bit of the permitting process as well. And usually we can get these projects done within 10 months. Has to be very specific to your situation, right? You have to be in love with the unit that's already made, right? And the design features that come with it. And then of course, if it's a time constraint, then of course we want to cater to that as well. Understand this though, going back to the design, these units, when they're on a foundation, they are homes. And just like any other regular home, renovations can happen. We also have the option to omit floorings or countertops or something that maybe you don't like that we offer. We want to work with you still. We want to find a way to make this happen. And so there are ways that we can have, you can have work done to the unit after the fact on site and ultimately still build the unit that you're exactly looking for. Everything you need to know before you commit to building, this is our villa feasibility study. You will get a lot of information for this low price of $500. And what we've estimated the industry value is about $2,500. So we really are getting you into a world of knowledge for a pretty low price, very, very fair price. You will be assigned someone like myself who is licensed to talk about ADUs and consult with you, which we will create a sitemap such as the one that you see on the right there that's going to have a good amount of information on it for you, including showing where the setbacks need to be, easements that could be there as well. You'll have engineering research done to determine the placement of the utilities, the foundation, the type of soil, arborist reports, stuff like that, and really honing in on what does this project require in order to get approved with your local jurisdiction. Chances are we have had a project submitted to the jurisdiction that you're in, or even built a unit in the jurisdiction that you're in. So we do have that firsthand knowledge of what it's going to take and really the costs that are associated to that. We do have a permitting team. Our pre-construction team is great with getting involved with the early phase and helping us understand the codes and regulations that we need to follow. And then, as I mentioned, the design features. You're going to go through this with someone like myself, where we will hone in on what you need for this unit and what the best layout and what the best floor plan is for you. And then finally, we will get a detailed budget in front of you. The way that we operate as a company is we want to prepare you properly for what this project may cost. There are so many things that can come up during the permitting process that can really inflate a budget, that if an inexperienced builder gets started on something like this, they may not have any insight into that. Whereas Villa and our experience, we can really take you forward into the final cost of what this project will be. But what we will do up front is set that realistic budget in hopes that, you know, we're really covering everything with some conservative estimates, in which once we get through that permitting process, we can really fine tune what it is that the city is requiring and bid out those scopes of work accordingly. And then finally, with the timeline, as I showed you, we will get a little more specific to your jurisdiction. I know that there's, you know, areas like Livermore, fantastic when it comes to getting permits approved. I think our average permit time there is like 35 days or 40 days or something like that. So really quick compared to other areas like Pasadena, who are very strict and they have a lot of requirements and stuff. So we are happy to kind of dive into that with you and your site specific and jurisdiction specifics to really give you a good idea of the timeline going forward. This is an example of what you will get in this feasibility study. So again, a very detailed presentation showing your design choices and everything like that, your site plan, of course, and ultimately getting down to a proposal, right? And breaking down really what is going to be required, what's going to be required beforehand, what are the site work items looking like, and of course the design costs. You can design your unit and really make that a part of your control. In this project, I can't remember exactly where this one was, but you know, we want to again cater that timeline a little bit closer to you and what you can expect. Really, I would say with my knowledge and experience in construction, which I've been doing for, what year are we in? I don't know, 8 or 9 years. We, you know, as contractors, it is our duty to set the right expectations. And I think where projects go wrong is those expectations really aren't set properly, and therefore they can't be met. And so as a company, you know, we really want to be transparent with you about the pricing, about the timeline, and speak to it with the experience that we have. And so that you going into this really know what you're up against. And you may not like it, and that's totally fine. Somebody else might be in your ear saying that, oh no, I can get this project completed in 6 months, or I can get this project done for $250,000. Why is Villa $350,000? Well, that's fine. That's their business, and they can do it the way that they want to. But in all seriousness, I've never worked for a company, you know, that really does pride itself on the transparency and really caring for its customers to get these projects done in a timely manner and at a fair price. You can get started with us even today, villahomes.com/get started, where you can start to explore the website and kind of get a nice little high level budget for your area, and even punch in your address. This little tool comes up where you can see what might fit. This is not 100% accurate. It's pulled from Google Earth, and maybe the boundary lines are a little bit off, but you can really start to see what could be catered to your property and see if this actually works. They give you a little estimated budget for the property, but what the feasibility study does is it really starts to hone in on exactly, or I should say closer to that exact cost for your project, and not necessarily a high level budget. This is an example of our design studio that you'll have access to once you get started with this project process with us, where you can go through and pick all your fixtures and finishes and see what looks good to you. And then this is also going to be on the website, where you give a little bit of information regarding what your project is like. And again, they'll give you a nice little overview of what you can expect going forward with us. And if it looks good to you, we would love to take that next step into the feasibility study. But everything that you're looking at here is completely free on the website if you sign up and create a little account with us, and we can get you started in there. So the treat for today, since you are on this webinar with us, we want to knock that feasibility study down by $100. And so instead of a $500 fee, this is a $400 fee. You can go to the website and let's see, Jess, if you want to, should be in the Q&A. If you want to put that in the Q&A, the website for everybody, that'd be great.
I can't put it in the Q&A, but an email will go out to you guys right after this.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for clearing that up. And then also I'm going to launch a poll here in a second, and it's just going to ask if you want to get contacted by us as well, so we can collect your information and have somebody reach out to you to talk to you about your project. But if you're going through the website, type in the code 100 off, and that will knock down the feasibility study fee to $400. And then, of course, that's when we get started with everything to see if this, if our company is right for you, if our price point and our units are right for you. So really would be looking forward to working with all of you here on the call today. There's the URL again, villahomes.com/get-started. Questions? Let's see, it looks like we had some that were already answered live. This is a good question here. What sets you apart from other ADU builders? I am not here to knock anybody down. I think that if a contractor is out there trying to do honest work for a fair price, has experience, that's awesome. We are here to help you get an ADU installed. If we are the ones that end up doing it for you, that's awesome. We would love to. We have a great team. We have an in-house permitting team that does a fantastic job getting projects approved. We have a wonderful construction team that's on site getting work done. Our contractors that we use, we don't use cheap labor. We use experienced contractors that do a wonderful job for us, that know what we like and can get it done in a timely manner. We are the one-stop shop, right? So I've gone up against, competitors that have a similar concept to what we do. Maybe they're a prefab ADU company. But, diving into some of their bids, they might leave some things out, and it's just not part of their scope of work. We've seen where they are the builder of the unit and they can put it on a foundation, and they can plug the utilities in, but they don't run the utilities. You have to hire a separate plumber or electrician, or they're not the permitting firm, right? Or they can design it for you, but they don't, but they work with another company that does the building process, right? With Villa, it's one throat to choke. Again, if things are going wrong in one way or another, we know who's at fault here. We know who's responsible for it. And I think that there's a lot of value in that, as coming from somebody, I should say other companies before, in various different lines of construction, you know, I've seen things go wrong where a lot of fingers are being pointed, and that's just bad business, right? And that's just not how customers should be treated, because no matter who you're going with on a project like this, you're still talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? It's a very expensive job. And so we want to just really be the company that takes you through this process, puts your mind at ease on everything. If you want to get involved, if you want to be responsible for removing the trees, right, or taking down that garage or patio cover beforehand and not leaving it to us, great, we're happy to work with you. If you want us to be fully responsible for everything, great, we're happy to work with you. So I think what sets us apart is the one-stop shop thing, and then of course just the culture here and the way that we really do care about getting projects done for our customers. Let's see, walk clients through the $40,000 ADU grant. Let's talk about financing because we do not have any in-house financing. We do have lenders that we would recommend based on where you live. In the North Bay, we have Redwood Credit Union, and our connection over there is Sean. He is wonderful, and Redwood Credit Union has a fabulous plan right now for ADUs and really making it easy with a good interest rate compared to the industry right now. We have another lender. His name is Dennis. He's wonderful. He works with Land Home Financial Services, and he's funded probably 100 of our projects. So really knows what he's doing. And someone like that would be responsible for seeing if you could qualify for the $40,000 grant. I know that the funding sounds like it is going to be coming back for people. I know there's a lot of folks on hold with their projects waiting for this grant to come through. It is a little bit of a complicated situation that we'd like to dive into a little bit more with you specifically one-on-one, and you know, see if that is an avenue that we can take. But we certainly want to help you out in getting you connected with the right people to get your questions answered in regards to financing. Garage conversions, Raphael, unfortunately, we do not do garage conversions. That would be, you know, a general contractor, custom stick builder that can handle that. Still think it's a great way to build an ADU for sure if the bones of the garage are good. If there's not too much extra work that has to be done. Granted, you'll still have to run utilities to it. It still has to be insulated and finished up. But ultimately, if a structure is there that's on a good foundation, it's a great way to get started with building an ADU, but unfortunately not something that we do. Can the ADU be a primary residence? Good question, James. No, it cannot. However, there is SB 9 that can work in our favor with doing lot splits. State Assembly bill that passed, I think, last year, and it's a little bit complicated, and some jurisdictions don't interpret it the same way. However, with building a separate accessory dwelling unit, let's say you've got a 2,000 square foot home on one side of the lot, and you can add a 1,200 on this side of the lot. We will talk you through what we think would be important to making that a primary dwelling sometime later on. So if you ended up doing a lot split later on, we'd want to make sure that it was tied into the separate utilities, right? And it wasn't feeding off of the main homes. But the beauty of building the ADUs and why we can get them approved so quickly is because a lot of the utility infrastructure is just built off of the main homes. But still, we have the ability to add separate meters like to the electrical panel. In most jurisdictions, they require that, and also have the ability to add a separate water meter. And you know, it can get expensive, but it's some options that we can throw your way to see if it makes sense. Can you build an ADU that attached to the garage? If it's an attached ADU, it's not something that we would specialize in. So you'd have to go with a general contractor and a custom builder that could tie into that. But I'm pretty sure that's possible. I know that, you know, when people have a detached garage, a lot of times they'll add a unit to the top of the garage so that they don't lose the parking, which is great, or add it onto the back is another way to do it, to preserve your garage and your parking or storage space, but still adding a unit. Permitting that is slightly different, but you know, still could be faster than building a separate primary home, I should say. ADUs typically are going to be expedited on the permitting process. Bill, good question. Will this work with a septic system only property? No sewer access. Absolutely. We have projects that we've completed with septic systems. There are a lot of upfront costs. I'm not trying to scare you off here, but you will have a septic engineer come in and assess what you have currently. There are percolation tests that need to happen, both in some jurisdictions, dry and wet weather perk tests. We need to see the capacity of the current system, if it's something that needs to be expanded or a separate one needs to be designed. That is all part of the process that we can help with. It does extend the timeline quite a bit. And in certain circumstances, it can be more than 6 months to deal with a septic system upgrade. But the other nice thing is with our units, we can get creative with it on maybe converting one of the bedrooms to a den. Maybe you want a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, but your septic system can only handle one more bedroom. Well, then we can convert one of those bedrooms to a den and stay within that same, the septic system's current infrastructure and get that approved. Or better yet, we can do a bedroom swap where one of the bedrooms in your main home gets converted to a den. These are all things that we've done before in the past. But good question. If you have septic, we're not scared of it. Can a homeowner parcel off a portion of their property for an ADU build so they would own it, but it would have its own address? Great question, Virginia. I would say build the ADU first and then parcel it separately. Or I should say secondly, after the fact. No matter what, though, if you don't parcel it off, your ADU will still have a separate address. As you can actually see in this example, 1120-2 is their address, or we've seen A and B and a half. Those are that's going to be up to the jurisdiction on how they want to call it out, but a separate address would be included as a part of our permitting process. I read the building codes have been relaxed in regards to non-permitted buildings or upgrades during the ADU permitting process. I don't know about the non-permitting of buildings because they want their money. That's just plain and simple. But as far as the upgrades during the ADU permitting process, I don't think I know the answer to that, or I've not heard or dug into that. So I apologize. You mean previous build? Oh, I see what you mean. Like an ADU has already been built, but was unpermitted. That's a good question. I've not really dove into that too much. Most folks that have an unpermitted structure already, we would not be responsible for converting it anyway, so we would be taking that out and restarting over. So it's not really my specialty to answer that one. Okay, looks like we got all our questions answered here. Thank you all so much for the questions. Really do appreciate it. Thank you all for being here and spending time with us. We really hope that this has been beneficial and that you are continuing your interest in your research. I hope that we can help you out with building an ADU. As I said before, I'm a home consultant here in California. I cover the whole entire state. So wherever you are, you may have the opportunity then to work with someone like me. We also have another home consultant, Ryan, who is fantastic at what he does, very knowledgeable, both about the ADU building codes and construction. So we are looking forward to helping you all. So go ahead and visit that website. Oops, I totally forgot to launch this poll. So there you have it. Your question is coming to you now, whether you want us to contact you or not. So please let us know and we will be in touch with you very soon. Thank you all. Happy Thursday, free weekend. Enjoy your weekend out there, and we will be talking with you about your ADU soon enough. Thanks.